It's the Two Strange Men.
Okay, another episode of Two Strange Men.
Yeah.
And Tom is very ill today, aren't you?
Sick. Almost like I am turning into a fishman.
Yes, yeah, I was going to say that. You stole my bit, you bastard.
Yeah, well, I just got in there. See, that's the beauty of being ill, right? You just ain't got time for people's shit. So it's like, let's just get the bit done.
This is kind of like that podcast, yeah. We just couldn't give a shit
Yeah.
at this point, yeah. No, that's not true, everyone. We do really definitely give a shit.
We're too far in.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's now just rote. We just... I don't even go home anymore. I just sit here, podcast after podcast after podcast.
God, that's a bit Lovecraftian in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, well,
yeah.
We're ready to explore some crazy, like, scarily eerie topics today.
Scarily eerie topics.
Yeah.
Lots of ears. That's what that means, eerie.
Fish gill ears.
Yeah.
They're a thing.
Yeah,
Do
absolutely.
fish have ears?
Fish definitely breathe out of their ears, mate, underwater. Yeah,
Do
that's
fish
a
have
scientific fact.
Do they have ears?
Do fish have ears? I think that is a subject maybe for next week.
Okay. Well, I'm going to be thinking about it all week.
Yeah. Do fish have ears? I mean, we could easily Google it, couldn't we?
Yeah, but we're not going to.
And neither will you, audience. You will not Google that. You'll wait till next week where you can find out whether fish have ears.
That's a carrot and stick method, that is. Basing you in.
And also, recently we did wonder whether frogs had sex and did the old humpy pumpy.
Yeah.
They did. They do.
They did.
The frog gets on top and does the old...
Do they have three pronged penises?
Oh, that I don't know. I don't know. They just they kind of... what do they do? They mount the female.
Yeah.
But they also kind of do what fish do, where they kind of secrete onto the eggs as well. They do a bit of both.
They
really.
jizz on the eggs.
They jizz on the eggs. Well, that's what fish do. You know that, right?
They jizz on eggs.
Fish jizz on eggs.
So I'm just thinking about the film.
Yeah.
They jizzing on people's eggs because they'll still have male genitalia. They just.
Before you do this, Tom, what is the film?
So yeah, fair enough. The film is Dagon.
Yeah.
And it's inspired by the short story, a bunch of short stories by H.P. Lovecraft, but particularly the short story Shadows of Innsmouth.
Over Innsmouth.
Over Innsmouth.
Innsmouth, like Portsmouth.
Oh, it is Innsmouth, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. And also about Dagon and loads of different things relating to Dagon, but specifically that story where people are turning into fishmen or fish people.
Fish people, yeah.
And yeah, it's an isolated story about a town that has slowly converted to Dagon, the god.
Dagonism.
And they have become fish people. Well, you slowly realise that the town is all fish people.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so for a lot of people, Dagon, the film, directed by Stuart Gordon.
What was your little interesting fact you gave me earlier about Stuart Gordon?
What's that?
You caught me in the corridor, all wide-eyed and bushy-tailed.
Yeah.
What did you tell me about good old Stuart?
That he also directed Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Which is wild.
Yeah, is
wild. Well, and then not in the same point, because the practical effects of Dagon kind of are similar in its approach of practical effects.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's start slowly, okay? So Dagon, we've talked about that it's adapted by it's adapted from certain things, okay? But H.P. Lovecraft, if anyone doesn't know, is a famous horror writer, but was famous horror writer at the turn of the last century. So before World War I, etc. He was 1919 I think is when he first published Dagon, the actual and that's one of his first published
had little
stories.
short stories all in weird weird magazine.
Magazines, like very much like our program. It would be like Strange Things magazine, and it would be a collection of stories and stuff, and people would, their bread and butter would be to write these sort of stories. He's kind of like, in a way, like his sort of like main job was very similar to the original main job of like L. Ron Hubbard, the Scientology guy. It's that level of you get a nickel a word, make us a story so we can slap it in this thing and people will buy it, before people had TVs and stuff like that.
What's a little bit sad about Lovecraft actually is a lot of his really notable works in like bound into like the Necronomicon would actually be published after his death. So he never really saw the popularity of his work.
That happens so much of the time, doesn't it? So he writes loads and loads of these short stories, and we see them in collected works now. And Shadow over Innsmouth, which is I would say the main inspiration for this film Dagon that we're going to be looking at, is one of his larger things. It was actually published as like a novella. It will take you about 3 hours to read it. And this film that we're going to be looking at, it takes inspiration from Dagon, the original story that appeared in a like a magazine, etc., probably numerous times, and then the larger novella Shadow over Innsmouth, and both of these look at a kind of like a race of fish people that he imagines will someday take over the world, etc. That's at least what's alluded to in the original Dagon story, and the original Dagon story, which is very short, and it just focuses on the idea of someone coming across this sort of like weird race, and like the first clues that this race of fish people have like a religion, but it's very, very simple. But then you've got this other story, Shadow over Innsmouth, which really goes into it. It's almost like a detective mystery or something like that, much like his other things. So, for example, people will have come across Cthulhu in the past. His famous story, The Call of Cthulhu, would have this similar sort of like vein where it's like a journal of an investigator that's investigating the what's the word, the horror. His
big thing when you read a lot of his work is it's always a journal and a chronicle of someone that's had something done to them and he's traumatized, and it's like their last kind of scrawled message. So, and a lot of it is written quite frantically. And you can kind of see that in the film, that it's quite frantically paced.
I kind of feel like the film detracts from a lot of the writing style of H.P. Lovecraft, much to its like detriment. I think it's difficult to put like the writing of someone like Lovecraft, which is very precise and specific, and like tends to reference other things a lot of the time, other writing and stuff. Like even in the short story Dagon, he references Paradise Lost. He also references like Edgar Allan Poe, amongst other things, as a way to kind of describe the horrors that are around him. He's making other sort of like meta references, and like he's trying to get into the mindset of the character, and it's really through their description of their experience that you then get the description of the horror that he's being put forth. And to be honest with you, I don't like it.
I mean, I kind of had a similar sort of peeve with the characters, right? Because when you read the original works, it's an everyman, right? Every character that's written, it's an everyman. Anyone can see those sights and lose themselves. And the characters that are actually writing those things aren't really special. And then in the movie, you've got a chosen one. Someone that was always destined to be there. And it's kind of like, that's not the point.
But that's Hollywood tropes, isn't it? That's all just thrown into it.
That kind of really took it away, like for me, that really took away some of the Lovecraftian element.
Yeah.
But I did overall really like the film.
It's a really good film. A bit wacky, a bit low budgety,
janky. I would say
janky. Yeah.
It's like the Bethesda of movies, because I'm replaying the Oblivion remaster right now.
Oh, okay.
Of course I am, because they shadow dropped.
You literally just got it out. Wow.
So janky is a word I'm going to be using for the next couple of weeks. But it does feel that it's really so. For example, the practical effects.
Yeah.
Right. Some of them are amazing. Some of the fishmen are really, really cool.
Yeah.
And then the blood effects on the people.
Yeah.
They look like they've been done for a GCSE art student.
Dolmio pasta sauce.
Yeah. What is going on? There's just a lack of consistency running through the film.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to give you a quick synopsis of the film. Okay. Obviously, spoilers, etc. This is the bit that you want to watch out for. But anyway, so we have a character, this kind of weird, nerdy sort of tech bro, before tech bros were a thing.
Yeah.
He's on his stocks. He doesn't want to have sex with his beautiful girlfriend.
Yeah.
They're on a yacht with her parents.
Yeah, I mean, was it really ever established who they were?
Yeah.
They're just people that had a boat and they were living the high life now.
Yeah. So anyway, they are on a boat that a private boat, and they are getting into troubled waters, I guess, choppy waters, and they hit a rock and start to take in water, etc. All sorts of shenanigans happen on the boat. It seems that essentially they are being attacked by what turns out to be fish people, but you don't see any of that at this early stage. It's kind of a monster that you can't see, under the water sort of thing. And eventually what happens is they get to at least two of them, the younger couple, the main characters of the piece. They get to the docks of this Spanish village,
Spanish port.
Which they play with the idea of Innsmouth, the name of the place, where it's called Imboca. Imboca. So anyway,
it's real on the nose stuff.
Yeah. So immediately when this couple comes to this place, something's a bit off. Something's a bit weird about the place. It's very sort of eerie. There's no one around, but then there's a couple of people around. What would you say? What's weird about these people?
Well, they're all kind of just milling around, almost soulless husks, right?
Yeah.
And obviously the lighting doesn't show it too well, but they're very vacant, very pale.
Yeah.
They don't they look human, but there's just something off.
Yeah.
A lot of them are covered.
Yeah.
In fact, that sequence where Barbara walks down and is searching for the inn and is just seeing people.
Yeah.
And she's noticing things like some of them have gills on
Webbed
their
feet.
Was probably the strongest the film was.
Yeah.
It was the best part.
And that's often the way, isn't it? It's these films, they have an ability to create an eeriness.
Yeah.
But it's when they actually have to reveal the shit full on. It doesn't hold up. The CGI will be bad. Actually having a look at some of those fish people right at the end, it was pretty bad, etc.
Another video game reference for you. I'm fully in. It went from Silent Hill to Resi Evil.
Yeah, sure. We'll talk about Resident Evil and the links to Resident Evil with this soon. But anyway, let's just get through this. So basically, out of the couple, the girl gets essentially kidnapped, etc.
from the inn as she's trying to communicate. What they do quite well as well is that they really play on the idea that this is a Spanish town and they're speaking Spanish.
Yeah.
And so then the male character comes aboard, is trying to find his girlfriend.
Yeah.
And it's they're being weird, but he's kind of just attributing it to the fact that they can't understand him.
Yeah.
And he can't understand them.
Lost in translation.
So he's just well, that's a bit weird. I'm going to go up to my room. And
Yeah.
then it all fucking kicks off.
Yeah. So basically, a lot of the film is him just discovering things about this village and essentially being chased by these sort of like half human, half fish people. And, you know, it does increase in, what's the word? Plot. You know, the plot thickens as he then realises that...
we forgot to mention a really important part at the start of the movie.
Yeah.
So at the start of the movie, it's established that he has dreams, and he sees this woman figure.
Yeah.
And he's awoken every night by her revealing fangs, as if she's going to devour him.
Yeah.
And he's been having the setup at the start of the film is he's been having those dreams for years and years and years. And that's kind of how we start.
Yeah, absolutely. What eventually happens is he discovers the secret through a very famous sort of like aged Spanish actor who's playing a hobo in this, that gives him like a full expository breakdown of what's happened in the village, etc. It reveals a cult to a like mad fish god called Dagon. And the character, essentially, in his quest to find the people he came with, tangles with the fish people, and eventually completely disrupts their sacrificial sort of like celebrations, I guess, where they're going to sacrifice his girlfriend, etc. He burns the house down pretty much, but there's a big reveal right at the end where this fish girl who has been trying to seduce him, he then is told essentially that he's related to her. Don't know why she's kissing him all up and stuff like that. It's like, I mean, they're still they're cousins. They've got the same dad. Like, it's a bit weird.
Well, they're not cousins. They'd be siblings.
Yeah, exactly. That was the weird thing about it as well.
But she was down for that. Like that.
Yeah, she didn't.
Stepsis
Down to clown.
Yeah, she was down to clown.
Yeah. But also, you know, we're not taking away from the fact that she was half octopus at this point in time.
Was that what it was? I was trying to work out like what the little leg tail things were.
It has to be.
Yeah.
Like tentacles. Tentacles for legs, you're an octopus.
But they didn't have the little like sucky cups. They were just that all the way around.
She was definitely related to like Ursula from Little Mermaid.
She was a bit of a hot Ursula though.
Yeah.
Like the top half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah. But like, I've seen those teeth though, so you got to be weary.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So like in a previous episode, we
I know.
In a previous episode, we talked about like a
Tom's
frog.
a deviant.
No, we talked about a frog lady that was full anthropomorphic frog, but she was like
She
a
had
bit
sexy
of a.
legs.
She was.
I know where
she
you're
was
going
an
with
exotic
this.
dancer, wasn't she?
Yeah, I know where you're going with this. Are you thinking?
Oh, absolutely
Take
not.
the legs of the sexy frog lady.
I'm giving you an option here.
Okay.
Choose one. Like a lady who is, you know, saying, like, oh, we're only like, you know, brother and sister, only half brother and sister, and she's got octopus legs, or a fully anthropomorphic exotic dancer frog that you're not related to.
It's got to be the non-related one. I'd just back it and take it.
You'd shag an anthropomorphic frog.
Well, you're not really giving me much option, are you?
Or you'd spittle on her eggs at least while you mount her.
You're not saying, are you? You're not going, oh, you know, like Demi Moore, da-da-da. You're giving me hard choices here. I'm just telling you the choice I make.
Well, then fine, okay? We'll take away the relation. So you're no longer related to this octopus mermaid sort of person.
Well, I've answered already, so I feel like the ball's going to be in your court.
I'd have them both, mate.
I knew you were
There's room in my bed for two.
Honestly, deviant over here.
Can you imagine the baby that we'd create in that primordial soup?
I think this is the last podcast I want to do.
You're locked in now, mate. Like you said, you're here all day, aren't you? Waiting for the next one.
I can't wait until you're animating that into a shot. Just a primordial soup of your face.
Just eggs, tentacles coming out of the eggs. Oh dear.
Yeah.
Frog eggs.
Shall we move on?
Yeah, did we kind of cover everything? That's the gist.
So like the end, instead of kind of like accepting it, he blows himself up, sacrificial, and falls into like a pit.
Well, she basically tries to save him, because he's on fire.
Yeah.
He set himself on fire, and then she throws him in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it kind of alludes to the fact that he sort of accepts it once he's not got any skin left.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it's a big deviation from the original story.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to talk about like the deviations from the story a bit more, but it was at least it had the idea that now that he's swimming and he found his gills, that he could basically just like swim off. Although he looked a bit like Freddy Krueger, etc.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, it's. I think our synopsis of that has been all over the place, and it's been a bit difficult to follow. Hopefully, kind of like the film. The film was like that as well. Hopefully, that has been at least enough of a spoiler guard for you to actually just go ahead and just watch that anyway, because it is a pretty cool film.
Yeah.
And it's like a rare sort of occasion because it's like a American / Spanish film as well.
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted to say when you were talking about janky, the idea of Eurojank. You know,
Love a bit of Eurojank.
Yeah. You have like, you know, certain games and stuff like that are a bit janky because they're like from like European like organizations and stuff. But like we can have that in film as well.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of that.
I think like when you look at like the independent scene, right? Like internationally.
Yeah.
A little bit of Eurojank in there. I went to a film festival, literally, I think it was last week.
Yeah.
A little bit of Eurojank in there. I loved it. I was eating all that Eurojank up.
Good. Okay. So yeah, the film is written and directed by two people, Dennis Paoli.
Okay.
And
they
Stuart
co-directed
Gordon.
as well.
Sorry?
They co-directed as well.
No. Stuart Gordon, who I will talk about in some detail, is a interesting sort of director who directed a number of different things, but he often worked with a guy called Dennis Paoli.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And Dennis Paoli also did a lot of like Spanish stuff as well. Like he also worked with the famous actor that then gets an appearance, his last ever appearance in Dagon. Yeah. Wow. So Francisco Rabal, we mentioned him. He was the hobo that kind of like tells the story of like how the villagers kind of like all turned into fish people, all accepted like there's no fish anymore, no fish in the sea, so we destroy all of the Christian iconography and replace it with fish people iconography. That's pretty much it.
That's how it works, right?
Yeah. Just like swap out your gods. If your god is no longer allowing you a good harvest, everyone, just swap out your god. Yeah. Have a frog god from ancient Mayan culture. Shuck.
It's not giving you the babies. Swap it out.
Yeah.
Throw a little Greek god in there.
Yeah. Hecate, say fuck it to Hecate and get Shaq instead.
Get Aphrodite Shaq. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you meant the basketball player.
Shaquille O'Neal. You don't know.
I'm sure he's fertilised a lot of eggs.
I mean, you don't know that Shaquille O'Neal isn't actually a fertility god, do you? I mean, do you?
It would make sense.
It would make sense. Yeah. It would make sense for a lot of reasons. Yeah.
You got to have charisma as a fertility
Like, he's a double god. He's god of basketball and god of fertility as well.
I was just going to say shagging. I guess that too.
Shacking, as he calls it. Yeah. Anyway, so Stuart Gordon, Dennis Paoli, they have directed an awful lot of H.P. Lovecraft themed stuff. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, for example, Reanimator, which is a film that we'll cover at some point in time. We've got an interesting history with that film. Yeah. And From Beyond are the first two films that he is known for. They came out in 1985 and 1986, and then past that, there's been loads of other ones that he's been working on as well. Some really interesting B movies come from Stuart Gordon. There's one in particular which is amazing sort of premise. So think about like when it came out. This was in I guess like the very, very early 90s, something called Robot Jocks. Okay.
Oh, okay.
It's like it's very similar to what's that film called? Pacific Rim, where you've got people in big giant mecha suits and they're starring, but they're also in these big CGI mecha suits and stuff. Yeah. Very anime related, etc. So this one, very early film, low budget. It's got stop motion robots fighting.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and so it's cutting back between like shots from inside the chassis to outside where they're like, all Ray Harry Harryhausen sort of style sort of thing.
Is it literally where you just like you get two wrestling and you just
yeah, it's like Rock'em Sock'em Robots
Yeah.
or something like that,
Love
just
it.
smashing the figures together. Yeah, well done, Stuart. Great job, mate. Yeah, thanks. Can I have an Oscar? No, not yet.
I was just about to ask who Stuart was. That's how sick I am. I'm like, oh yeah, great.
Yeah, Stuart Gordon, the director. He's done lots of interesting things. He died. That's interesting.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people that have worked on the film are dead. Sorry, that was really macabre, wasn't it?
I mean, to be honest with you, like it's almost like making a film is like bad for your health. Think of the amount of people that have like made films and then died.
I mean, just this year, there's been quite a lot of
crazy,
really like cool people. We should have done a Val Kilmer episode, but we didn't.
We should have done a Val Kilmer episode. We should have done a David Lynch episode.
Yeah.
They all died. They're dead now. May they rest in peace.
So if we do it now, we're just chasing a trend, guys.
Yeah, we're not doing that. We don't chase trends, okay? We're legit.
Because we know we suck.
So anyway, Stuart Gordon, he's done lots and lots of other H.P. Lovecraft related stuff. It's weird. He had this very controversial theatre company that was very, very political, that led in the 70s and 60s to him and his wife being arrested, amongst other things, because of their controversial take on like kind of like hippie protest stuff a lot of the time, you know.
They were anti it or pro it or...
No, they were, say for example, they were anti the Vietnam War, so hippie protest stuff, yeah. And that got them in trouble with the law at times, amongst other things. But yeah, very preachy, etc. Sort of like playwright sort of stuff. But then, funnily enough, he goes into film and he goes in, I'm going to do H.P. Lovecraft for the rest of my life. It's a strange sort of turn that he's done there. But yeah, that's essentially what he did. And then very later in his career, after all of this other sort of B-movie stuff, he then does probably his last foray into Lovecraftian themes is Dagon, this film, Dagon. And it also includes a guy called Francisco Rabal, as we've mentioned, who has died during... at the end, once this film has been completed, he's actually off to like receive awards at Spanish film festivals and stuff. And I think he dies on a plane or something like that.
Oh, that's really sad.
But it's so quickly his death that they actually added his credits, like a big homage to him in the credits of this film. And in this film, what happens to that big, like old Spanish guy?
What does... Oh, God. I
most grotesque...
I actually fully forgot that happened.
Yeah.
Because it was just so disgusting. I'm going to admit something.
Yeah.
I've got a little button on my computer that skips 30 seconds ahead.
Oh, really?
What do you think I did once
You
the
skipped
face...
30 seconds ahead.
I couldn't
so
watch
you didn't see
that
it?
face. I saw the aftermath.
Yeah.
But I
like
just,
a talking skull with
couldn't-
blood all over it.
As soon as he got like to the eyes, I was like, I know where this is going, and I can't.
Yeah. So basically, just for anyone who hasn't watched the film, this very celebrated Spanish actor in his final moments on screen, he literally has his face torn off. Like a scalping, pretty much. They cut around his face, etc., and then they pull it off.
Don't you think there's a beauty in that as like a eulogy? Right, finally taking the mask off, finishing the career, taking the mask off.
Finally taking the mask off. That's great. I like that.
As a eulogy.
Yeah.
I think that's
I'm no longer an actor.
Yeah.
This is my own face. Oh, God.
Yeah, put it back on.
Put it back on, please. So yeah, like there was that, and look, I mean, he was down to clown, wasn't he? Like,
He was down to clown.
He didn't have a problem with that, did he?
Yeah.
So we shouldn't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
You know, that's a good way to go. To be honest with you,
He was pretty competent in the film. He's one of the better actors.
this is like an analogy, right? So, or or another example, a comparative example. If Orson Welles, okay, his last role was as a Unicron in Transformers the movie.
Was it really?
Yeah, so the 1986 animated feature where Optimus Prime dies and everything like that. Orson Welles is in that. And like he's got a real deep voice and everything like that. It works really well. But like imagine that wasn't his final role, and celebrated actor Orson Welles for his final foray just gets fucked on screen or something, or gets his dick chopped off or something. You know, it's I mean it's not perfect, but like it's just weird that kind of happens. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, we're just gonna decapitate him.
I'm sure he wasn't planning it like his face to be removed to be the last like shot of film that he would be in.
Yeah, he probably was gonna do another one, but. One thing to state is that like he's really difficult to actually understand because he could not speak English very well, and also he was very old.
And that was kind of my problem, like throughout the whole film. I liked that they had that, you know, that they all spoke Spanish, and there was that language barrier. But I didn't understand half the film, and they decided not to subtitle anything. So like,
that's good.
I was like, what is going on?
That's often the way with things that you kind of get the gist that they are like, you know, like an American / like Chinese or Japanese like crossover. You know, there's a very early film with like Paul Rudd. And I think this film is in some way related to like Jackie Chan as well. He doesn't feature in it, but he produces it. It's called like Metal Mayhem or something like that.
Right.
And it's just a really weird one because you've got like the Japanese, you know, going, but then you've got the American characters as well. And there's like, they're just speaking in their own languages. Do you know what I mean? And without subtitles, it's madness. It's absolute mayhem, as you would say. But yeah, this is kind of like a similar sort of like situation. It's definitely one of those. It's got the Spanish in there, it's got the English in there, and then it's a bit difficult. But yeah, when it comes to like its adaptation, of mainly being adapted from Shadow over Innsmouth. You're reading it currently, aren't you?
I am, yeah. Well, rereading it.
You're rereading, yeah.
I have a long history with Lovecraft that we'll talk about next week.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to overshadow Dagon. But so I've read it countless times, but I'm rereading it at the moment, like for this episode and next. And it's really interesting because, again, we've covered a lot of the points about this and the idea. Sorry, I am sick. Just in case you needed reminding, there's all my snot like going up into my brain. Yeah, so I've just got snot brain now. The idea like of the original like writing is kind of like an investigative journalist talking about it after the fact, and you know, I need to expose this.
Yeah.
The fact that we follow this kind of like chosen one through it just kind of dispels so much of what made the original writing really compelling. Yeah. And outside of like a few jump scares here and there, and outside of the really, really good kind of 2-minute scene with Barbara, I didn't. When you read Lovecraft, for me, you get this pain in your chest, this idea of kind of unfathomable horror. Yeah. I didn't get it from this film. Yeah, and I feel like it's a real missed opportunity. And if we're talking about an adaptation, it showed too much, and the scope was too human.
But this is one thing. Like like what's funny is that we've both turned up with literally the same book, which is like it's called the Necronomicon, and it's got most of Lovecraft's like work in it. I'm just going to slap the book so that you know how heavy this book is.
And that's a real slap. I can
feel the bassy weight of that. That's a big book.
Is this the rest of the podcast? Just
it's packed full of these short stories.
I think it's 600 pages.
Yeah, it's mad. But what I find with most of these stories is the fact that he leans too much on the idea of unfathomable horror.
Oh, I love it.
It just annoys me because it feels almost like a cop-out. Do you know what I mean?
I can see that, but I think it's just like, if something is so vast and so alien, then yes, of course, if you're writing in first person, you can't comprehend it.
So many of his characters just go mad.
Yeah.
Like, they see something, go mad, and then we, as an audience, barely get to know what that is. And so what they do in this book is they then show it in illustrations.
Yeah.
And so, like, if he's not talking about it, why do we get it in illustrations? It's weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, he often cops out and says, like, you know, I've now addicted to heroin after that fateful day. I'm about to top myself. But hark! At the window!
That's how Dagon starts, right? I'm high on morphine, guys, because of the things I've seen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't tell reality from... Yeah, I guess it does feel a bit of a cop-out. But if you were... There's a particular bit that I always come to. If you were on a beach and you saw a 350-foot, like, tentacle monster that was, like, anthropomorphic with human legs just casually coming up, you'd go mad.
Yeah. I was just thinking what, like, a modern interpretation of, like, H.P. Lovecraft and his writing style would be. Like, you know, and then I saw a giant creature emerge from the deep. I could barely Snapchat it to all of my followers.
It was all obscured because there wasn't good lighting.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, it's like he's a writer of his time, definitely. And like,
there's limitations there.
Yeah, but one thing that's interesting is that, like, people revere his writing style to a certain extent because he's kind of like a grandfather to the horror genre that we know now.
Yeah.
But my preferred horror films are the ones that stick with the eerie.
Yeah.
Like, people don't realize that you don't have to laugh when it's a comedy. You don't have to be scared when it's a horror. Like, it's not necessarily about the feeling. It's about the atmosphere. It's about the mood. It's about the themes and stuff like that makes it the... Sorry, that's my water alarm that I forgot to turn off. So
I forget you have a water alarm.
Well, now I'm turning into a fish man. I need to drink water an awful lot.
Because honestly, the size of his gills, mental.
Yeah, you can stick pencils in those.
I've tried when you're not looking.
Oh dear. I hope it's not just a I hope it's not just a pencil. Oh dear, what am I saying? Don't have sex with my gills, Tom. All right.
Right, good.
Stop looking at my gills in that way.
Well, you know, your fault.
Do fish have fingers?
You've got, well, should we just next week define a fish? I've got some crazy, like, underwater facts to throw out next week.
What are we doing next week?
Well, it's Lovecraft.
We were going to say Lovecraft,
but I'm going all like.
I don't know. I don't know if we're going to be doing Lovecraft. Should we just change it and just do fish people?
Sure.
Yeah, next week we're doing fish.
Almost all of my research is about, like, octopuses.
Yeah, it's good. Or in this case, with this lady, octopuses.
Yeah, brilliant. So, oh, look what time it is.
No, we've still got time. Let me carry on with octopuses.
Do you know what I feel like right now?
Yeah.
The scene where he's just, so you talking is like the man getting his face removed, and I'm the guy. I'm the guy just watching it happen.
That's a bit harsh. I mean,
yeah, sorry.
Have I gone red?
Have you gone red?
I don't know. Like,
well, your face isn't coming off. If that's what you're asking.
So what you're basically saying is to look at me is to look at abject horror.
I did not say anything about the way that you look.
Yeah.
I'm saying this situation feels like, you know, like I'm locked in an uncomfortable thing because you just keep bringing up, like, you know, sex.
Okay. So you're doing an interview later, aren't you?
I
You're
am,
interviewing for a job.
Oh God, don't get in my head. Don't you fucking dare.
Are you going to be like thinking about sex with fish people during it?
I wasn't.
You will be now. Yeah.
I literally have like a couple of hours as well, so that's not going anywhere. That's going to be deep rooted in there.
Okay, so should we talk about the main character, the actor that plays the main character, for a minute?
Yeah.
Ezra.
Are we
Ezra,
going to say
I
the
think
same?
it's Ezra Foreman.
Are we going to say the same thing in 3, 2, 1? Not a great actor. Are you supposed to join in?
Well, I didn't know what I was going to say. I don't know. I mean, like, what's not great about him?
It's just all a bit wooden.
Okay.
And a little
They
bit,
were all a bit wooden, weren't they?
A little bit like, oh, this thing's happening and now I'm reacting to it. And you're telling me I'm the son of Dagon? No, I don't like that.
This is the biggest thing he's ever been in.
Yeah, I can tell.
Yeah. So, like, I think, yeah, he's solidly worked, but
Yeah.
like they're not of great quality.
Yeah. They're Birdemic type features.
Yeah, to a certain extent. There's quite a lot. I think he stopped acting in like 2016.
Oh, okay.
But like he's also like a voice on, say, for example, Dragon Age, like one of the Dragon Age games, amongst other things.
Yeah, I can probably see that.
So he's done all sorts of different things. But yeah, he's what's the word? He's I always wonder with like acting, like how much you can blame on what they're doing in front of the camera and what direction they're given. Because I kind of feel like a lot of his reactions and stuff like that tended to like match what he's expected to do from the script, for example.
Yeah.
He does an awful lot of silly mistakes in this film, you know. Like, for example, at the point in time that kind of matches the book where he is troubled by all of the fish people for the first time and they come up to his hotel room and try to molest him or whatever, take him away, etc. And he's like fiddling around with locks and stuff like that. That's all in the book. You know, he jumps out of his window as well. That's all in the book as well. That's all in the original story. But like the way in which he goes about doing things is this kind of like weird sort of nerdy guy that the entire time.
Yeah.
He's not like a major hero or anything like that. He's a bit of a wet willy.
Although, did you catch the bit where he went all Jackie Chan and he got the fish guy's jacket and just kind of like unfolded it, and then did you see that bit? And then the guy was just squirming.
Yeah,
like,
is that the point in time where he also like absolutely decimates a postman's nuts with his leg? Like,
I think it's a similar time.
He kicks
He's
the
coming
guy
out
in the
of
nuts.
the mansion.
Yeah. He kicks the guy in the nuts as well. Do fish have nuts?
Do fish have balls?
Do fish have balls?
Ball fish. Fish balls.
Fish balls. Yeah. I can order fish balls and eat them. Am I eating testicles?
I don't think so.
Fish testicles.
I think it's just like fish meat all comprised into a ball, right?
Yeah, I guess so. It was a joke, Tom. All right,
Oh,
I was
okay,
being
sorry.
silly.
Did I mention that I'm sick?
Fair enough. Sick-minded, you perv.
Yeah. In fact, most of the...
I think actually I'm going to just come into that interview and let the interviewers know that you have a proclivity for frog women.
Yeah, just play that clip out loud on the stereo, like you were like a.
Do you want
like
this person in
rom-com.
management?
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm not telling you the location of my interview.
What?
I'm not
Oh
telling
yeah,
you
you're
the
not
location.
disclosing the location. That's fair enough. I think like what's odd though is I think because of his screen time and his a chance to actually redeem it, I think he gave the best performance out of everyone. I think everyone was a bit wooden.
Yeah, particularly at the end.
Yeah.
That end scene was really solid. The two older people that quickly, like, you know, the older guy that was in
Get
it for like
killed off
5
and
minutes,
stuff.
he was terrible.
Yeah.
Like, awful.
The woman who seppuku'd herself because she had been, I guess, impregnated. She thinks was impregnated. Yeah. Like good final performance, but she was barely there, wasn't she? So like what we've got is like just this guy, and he kind of like stands out. It's reasonable performance overall.
I mean, I quite liked some of the performance from the fish people, but mainly because they were speaking Spanish and they were growling off because I didn't understand Spanish. It seemed like otherworldly howls, like
Yeah.
it kind of really fit.
Yeah.
But if I was a Spanish listener speaker, I'd have probably been like, "They were terrible."
Yeah. One thing for everyone to take on board, to kind of as a way to sort of inspire you to watch this film if you haven't already, is that if you're a fan of Resident Evil 4, which was kind of like out of all of the Resident Evil franchise, it was a standout one because it came out with the Wii as well, so it had all of the Wii motion controls and stuff like that. There's good ports on the PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, amongst other things. You can get it on the Switch, etc.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a cultural standpoint for any gamer.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's been remastered at this point.
Yeah.
Modern consoles.
Yeah. It's what's the word? It's very similar to this film.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether that's at the point where this film was made and then it's inspired by, or it's just coming straight from the Shadow over Innsmouth, like original source material. Because even in the Shadow over Innsmouth source material, the villains, the villagers and stuff that like worship some sort of god, that element is transferred over to this Resident Evil scene. It's like a Spanish village. It's not by the coast. It's not got the fish god stuff, but it's got all of the other elements to it. It's got how these people are described in the original Lovecraftian book or novella. You've got these sort of like shambling, groaning sort of characters that are very zombie-like. Yeah. But if you watch this film and you know Resident Evil 4, you'll be like, oh my God, this is basically like a Resident Evil 4 film. It's so similar, you know? And I did my research when I originally watched it, and Resident Evil 4 precedes Dagon. So it was made after, or it was released after. And I've not been able to find any specific, like, admittance that it has actually had like a specific influence on it, but you can see it, can't you? Like they have to have been subconsciously influenced by that, and it can't have just been the book. I don't think the novella Shadow over Innsmouth that they're coming from, because similarities in the aura, like the vibes of it or whatever, is so similar, and the fact that they are also it's a Spanish village that Leon, the protagonist from that Resident Evil game, goes to, you know, and like within that as well, he has to save the president's daughter, which again kind of mimics what this guy's doing. He's got to save his girlfriend. That's not from Shadow over Innsmouth, is it?
No.
You know, that element's added in to give it that sort of cinematic, filmic, sort of like Hollywoodized version of this story, you know? But I kind of feel like the story itself, Shadow over Innsmouth, it would make for a great sort of television miniseries.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, like
kind of like you know, Lovecraft meets Twin Peaks.
Yeah, I think there's something called Lovecraft Country.
Yeah, I've not watched it.
I've not seen it. No.
I saw it advertised because it had what's the actor's name?
It's
the guy
got
who played Kang.
Yes, so the guy that is no longer with Disney because he allegedly beat on his wife.
I mean, yeah.
That guy. That's the guy we're talking about. Yeah,
we all know who we're talking about here.
So he's in it as well. And that just gives me the vibe of it must be like you every episode there's another sort of Lovecraftian sort of thing going on in this town or in this county or whatever it's called. So yeah, it's kind of like that, where it's like just a weird thing happening, a bit like X-Files, that sort of thing. But I'm talking about like, you know, there was a mini series made about The Shining.
Oh, okay.
That was a more faithful adaptation of The Shining, Stephen King's Shining. And so that could be viewed effectively alongside The Shining by Stanley Kubrick, you know, as like a completely different thing. Not completely different, but like a different take on it.
A different adaptation.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
yeah.
This would work so well with that, because what you're missing with the film is all of the build up to it, and the idea that the fish people aren't just fish people. They grow into, because there's been all this breeding with fish people and stuff like that. They grow into like those fishy traits. They start getting bog eyes and stuff like that as they're older, etc. And then the gills come up and stuff. Like
they had like a child,
Yeah.
like spurring on one of the fish people, and they could have done so much more with that.
Yeah.
I like this idea of like maybe a little reference to the fact that they're like mixed, you know, and as they get older, they become like this
but like
monstrous-
because of the way in which they've played this out, where the guy is actually like they're revealing at the end, you're actually a fish person too. There you go, you've got gills straight away. Like at this stage in his life, he should be not with like some pretty girlfriend, etc. Like on a private yacht, dealing with stocks and everything like that. Like he should be like someone who has struggled with the fact that he's become more fish-like by the time he's got to this age, you know. And like there'd be so much like the book goes into the fact that like, you know, his uncle killed himself because he like was turning into a fish man, and you could clearly see it. And like his cousin was in an insane asylum and stuff like that. You know, there's loads of elements that they could have like, you know, incorporated into this sort of story. And I don't think that film would ever give it like the right like sort of like vibe of investigation and stuff.
You know, TV has a wider scope, has a wider runtime most of the time to be able to look at those side stories where they would just beelining it. And to be honest, at certain times, I was like, this is too much too fast.
Yeah.
Like they got on the island and it just kicked off.
Absolutely, yeah. But it was a nice build up. One thing of note is like there is a like a style of his writing where Lovecraft is essentially showing a descent into madness. Yeah, and in the book, actually, a reviewer that I listened to actually described that as actually a physical descent with this film, where essentially, sorry, with the original book, where you've got the monsters, the fish people becoming more and more grotesque as he walks down. He arrives by train, not by boat. He arrives by train, and he literally descends deeper and deeper into this town or village, and things get more and more fishy. Yeah, no pun intended. Yeah. Whereas in this film, they've just turned that on their head. You know, in the short story Dagon, he actually arrives by boat, so I guess that's why they do it. But he arrives by boat, he goes up the dock, and then he ascends. He goes upwards, and things get a bit weirder. It's just a bit strange. Like, you know, like that would have been really, really cool just to have it in the original way. But they've kind of just tried to say, like, we're basing our film on Dagon and Shadow over Innsmouth. It's both things. So we have more artistic license to do things. But like literally, like it adds nothing. The stuff that you've added really adds nothing. Yeah, you know. But anyway, we're finishing this episode pretty soon.
Yeah, we are. We're wrapping up rapidly.
Rapidly. It's been a cool film though. I've really enjoyed watching that film. I've watched it a couple of times now, and I definitely recommend watching it. Find that film.
It's
might
very
be a
difficult
bit obscure,
to find, but if you can find it, I would highly recommend it.
Yeah. It's a good film. Anyway, next week we are going to be looking at Lovecraft.
Fish people.
Yes, we're going to be looking at fish people.
Good specs.
I like the idea of Dagon. It's an interesting sort of character. Mermaids, that sort of stuff. Do fish have fingers? Do fish have balls?
You're going to have to wait.
You're going to have to wait till next week.
Don't you dare Google it.
There was another one as well. Do fish have sex? No, that wasn't it. What was the other one we were trying to work out at the start?
Do fish have fingers and...
Do fish have ears?
Do fish have ears?
Yeah, we'll answer all of those if we remember. Until next time. Yeah, we won't.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. Here's a disclaimer. We are not experts. We could easily get things wrong in an episode. Our intention is to explore and open up the possibilities for further exploration. Come find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and YouTube. We would love some interaction. Also, if you can consider supporting us on Patreon, that would help a bunch. Search for 2, that's number 2, Strange Men Pod, all one word. Until next time, keep it strange.